Basil seeds can actually be used just like chia seeds, or even to flax seeds to some extent. It goes back to ancient India with the Ayurvedic medicine, and it was also used in various parts of Asia and Africa. So some other names we have for the basil seeds are the Sabja seeds and the Terra-ble seeds. There have been some various studies talking about some of its potential health benefits with being anti-inflammatory, antioxidant properties, and having an antidepressant potential, among other things like anti-cancer. The seeds of this plant can contain some really good polyphenols and fibers and omega-3s. And usually these seeds are used to like thicken dishes, like if you're gonna thicken a smoothie, or as emulsification, if you're gonna add them into like a quiche as like a replacement for something else, like flour or whatever, because it is a bulking agent. So the really cool thing about the basil seeds is that they are able to swell and absorb all this water. Right, and it's not the seed itself, but there's like a layer around the seed that produces this like mucilaginous or mucousy type substance that swells and absorbs all of this water. And for basil seeds especially, this happens kind of quickly, like only in like 2 or 3 minutes. Even for chia seeds, it can take a little bit longer. And so this is a really cool quality that we can use to help to thicken different types of foods, or help to soak up excess water in different dishes, or use as an addition or substitute for eggs. So this past year I experimented a little bit with growing this seed basil from seed, and even though I didn't end up planting a whole bunch of it and I just didn't have time, but I'm really glad that I did have this experience of starting these plants indoors, because it gave me a really good foundation and taught me some things that it'll save me a lot of time, a lot of trial and error next season. Next year. And so basically I found that if you want to start these basil seeds, it really can be beneficial in some cases, of course, to start them indoors, but how do we start them indoors? So what I initially did was I just seeded some basil seeds in some pots, and I watered them. I tried to keep the soil evenly moist, and after multiple weeks the plants still did not emerge. So after a while of waiting for sprouts to emerge, which never did, I ended up having to change my techniques. So what I did was I seeded these basil seeds on top of the soil. I moistened them with water with using a spray bottle, and then I took some plastic, maybe part of like a plastic bag, or you could use saran wrap or something like that, and I put it over the top of the lid, and I just kind of rubber banded it around the edge to help hold that plastic on, and I just let it sit in a warm place. I may have had it under some artificial lighting. After a fairly short time, I think it was just a few days or maybe about a week, the basil seeds began to sprout, right, and these basil plants began to emerge in this pot. And then of course from there I was able to, well, actually I wasn't able to, because I just didn't have the time. But what you can do then is you can take it out to the garden, separate out the plants, and plant them where you want your basil plants to grow. I did manage to get a few of these basil plants in the ground, right, and they did grow. Unfortunately, I ended up planting them way later, probably like over a month and a half later than what I intended to. So will all types of basil produce these seeds, right, that swell in the water and absorb all this water? I don't know the answer to that. If you do, maybe definitely feel free to let us all know in the comments down below. Right, I'm pretty sure that the sweet basil will. In terms of like Thai basil and things like that, I don't really know. I haven't tried it. But basically what I did was I bought a bunch of basil seeds. I think the company name was like Zen Basil or something. And I figured, well, I can just go ahead and use these seeds to plant. And then I know that I'm going to be growing a basil plant that is going to have these qualities, right? So that was basically what I did there. And I will have a link to the basil seeds that I bought down in the description as well. So the other cool thing is that the basil plant can be a companion plant to a bunch of different plants, especially like tomatoes is a very popular one, but the basil is a pretty cool plant because it some people claim it can help to repel certain types of pest insects, you know, even maybe like mosquitoes or something. But what I really want to touch on here is that when the basil goes to flower, right, which is usually something that people try to avoid because they want to keep harvesting the leaves and stuff. But if you're growing it for seed, these plants will go to flower, right? And so you can reap the benefits that this plant can offer when it goes to flower, attracting different types of beneficial insects, potentially like lacewings, maybe even tachinid flies, right? I've found that tachinid flies have an affinity for different types of mint plants. Basil is, of course, in the mint family, so I wonder if the tachinid fly would also be attracted to this plant as well. And on that same note too, the blue-winged wasp as well. I've found the blue-winged wasp to be very active on different types of mint plants, just like the tachinid fly, and so I wonder if the basil could fall into this category as well. And of course, the blue-winged wasp and the tachinid fly will both go after different insect pests, even Japanese beetles. And then the lacewings, of course, can go after aphids. So thank you so much for checking out this video on the Sabja seeds or the basil seeds. It was a really new and really cool use that I learned of basil. And so I'm really excited to be able to grow more of this plant, hopefully in the coming seasons in my garden. And to be able to grow this plant, this seed that has all these potentially strong health promoting properties, right? And it may also be a really huge source of omega-3s as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Take care.